All right, I'm going to make sure that YouTube comments is on. Uh-oh. Huh. Chat doesn't want to work. Well, let's get us on. See if I can fix this. Fade in, Chris. Fade in, Chaz. Alright, let me work on getting us going on. Ha ha ha.
Was that French? Ho ho ho.
It was something like that. Doesn't like the new way we're doing it.
It's annoyed.
It's annoyed.
It's like maximum overdrive.
Yes. All right, people. I'm trying to get YouTube chat to play. Ah. Wants me to log in. Carry us, Charlie.
So I'm gonna start carrying the show, I guess. Chris and I talked during the week and gave me a little bit of a homework assignment that was more of a leisure thing, and that was watching the movie Scent of a Woman with Al Pacino and some other unknown guy who plays the other main character. Whatever. Not bad, definitely. Was it Christopher O'Donnell?
Yeah, Chris O'Donnell.
Chris O'Donnell, yeah. Not a bad movie. Now, right off the bat, I think Chris is going to be disappointed. I thought it was like a 6.7 out of 10 max.
Really? Wow.
I think that's a generous rating. Yeah. Now,
Why?
it's not because it was a bad movie or anything like that, but Al Pacino, that fucking... and I can say this because I'm Italian, that wop, dude, he just freaking didn't... That he's so overacty. And if you've ever seen the movie Devil's Advocate, it just ruins Al Pacino for you forever. And so when he's doing that overacting as the rough and tumble Lieutenant Colonel Slade, whatever, I just kind of get like annoyed that he's like, it's kind of like what is it, like method acting? Hello, Popper. Pop it. Oh, hi, Crystal. Yeah.
All right. So YouTube's up. That's not really method acting.
But it kind of worked out like that, and it just pulled me so out of the movie because I was just thinking about how shitty his acting was. And I'm like, dude, like, just take it down a notch.
Okay, here's what I think. I think his acting was good. I think you don't like Al Pacino, and you can't get past him. Because my dad didn't like Tom Cruise, and he could never ever get past the guy and watch the character. Because I was like, Dad, he's a good actor. He's not being Tom Cruise. He's like, I don't care. I just see that guy, and I see Tom Cruise, and I can't enjoy anything he does. Okay, correct me.
Here's where I'm going to correct you, because immediately after watching...
Are you begging to differ?
I beg to differ. Here's where you're wrong. Immediately after watching that version of Al Pacino, I was like, damn, that like, is that what it is? Do I just hate Al Pacino? And so I went and I watched The Godfather, which is, by the way, that's like not a small commitment. That movie's like 2 hours 45 minutes long or some shit. She hates Nicole Kidman. I like Nicole Kidman. Nicole, only because they torture her.
What movie are you
So she
talking
likes
about?
watching. It's called Others, I guess. I've never seen that one, Crystal. And I watched The Godfather, and I'm like, great job. He did a good job, and he even talks with the jaw when his jaw is broken. He even talks like with a fucked up voice, and he does a good job of that. That's like sort of a disability. He's not like this the whole time, like looking at nothing with that intense army guy stare. You know. He probably worked so hard on that look, and it really fucked with my head. And I was just like, can't take it home. And then there's that weird scene where he's gonna kill himself. I just think that it fell short of what it should have been. The Others, yeah.
Okay.
But I will say this: that final scene where they're in like the courthouse, that was great. Or not the courthouse, when they're at the school, and he has that monologue at the end. That was really good. He did a good job with that.
Huh. Wow. Well, I like the whole movie. It's been a couple of years since I've seen it, but or maybe less. Wow. Huh. I thought you'd
It's all right.
love
It's not
like
your
the
fault.
scene when he's at dinner and he gives his brother-in-law shit about not pleasing his wife, and I just thought you'd love
You need
all
to
the
go down on her.
irreverence of his character, right?
Yeah, he said you need to go down. Well, no, it's because okay. This is going to be good, and you probably have some insight on this. And I like that we're starting this with a movie talk, because I think that's useful. You mentioned a movie that teaches people how to watch movies. I think you said it was Citizen Kane, right?
I didn't say that. That's like what everybody says. I'm not sure I agree with that.
I've never seen that. No,
You've never seen Citizen Kane?
when I
Okay,
watched that
so,
movie.
Well, just so here's what they say. They, who are they, and why do they say so much?
Oh, I can't do that quote.
They say it's the movie, and this movie came out in 1939. And it was totally ahead of its time. It did like time sequences where it went back and forth, and movies just didn't do that. They were all, melodramatic
Fiction,
acting, and yeah. So they said it's the movie that taught people how to watch movies and movie makers how to make movies. Now, I watched it, and definitely ahead of its time. If it were a movie today, it would just be an okay movie. Being that it was made in 1939, and I think it was Orson Welles' first movie, it's pretty impressive. So, I mean, if you watch it, you're going to be like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, I've never seen that movie, so I don't really know what to expect. From what I know about
Consider
Orson
yourself
Welles,
a
it's
movie
probably
guy.
interesting.
You got to watch it, because on almost all like top 50, top 100 movies, it's one or two. Which again, given the time frame, sure. Of all time, I don't think so.
Yeah, but I was gonna say, if it was 50 years ahead of its time and it was made 80 years ago, what are you doing?
Yeah, not.
I'm like, I just watched the shit that's 50 years ahead of its time that was made 10 years ago, and then I'm technically watching movies in the future. No, but I know what you're saying. My point with that was I've never seen that movie, so I might not be getting how you really are supposed to watch movies. So I watched that, and especially that scene when they're eating he barges into it, basically comes unannounced to a Thanksgiving dinner at his brother's house, and he's like this mess. He's like, I've always had a sneaker for you, which to me is like a sneak hard on. He says this to his sister-in-law, or his sister. Or I guess it's his brother's wife, but, and then you're like, it's just uncomfortable, and I don't like that. So sorry, I have an audience. Where was I going with that? That was going pretty nicely.
He comes into the
I
house
can't.
unannounced, made you uncomfortable.
Sorry, there's somebody bothering me. It makes me uncomfortable, and I just want to get out of it. I want to skip ahead. I'm like, why the fuck are you acting like that? because I wouldn't act like that.
Well, if he
I don't like
evokes
the
a real
irreverence.
emotion out of you, then I think he probably did a good job acting. I would argue that.
But it's uncomfortable in the sense that he doesn't know how to communicate. Like Rodney Dangerfield, he's like, "Oh, you must have been something before electricity." You know, like that's a joke, but he's also interacting. So like, to me at that point, I'd be like, "This guy gets it," you know. But like, I feel like the Frank Slade is like this asshole that I wouldn't like to hang out with. I'd be like, "Fuck you! I don't want to watch a movie about your life." You know. Why does anybody? Yeah.
Well, if you think the character's an asshole, then again, I think he sold the character.
That's fair. Yeah.
Maybe you didn't like the character. And you're
Well,
not
that's what
seeing
I'm
past
trying
that.
to see. That's why I'm saying I don't hate Al Pacino. I kind of like I've liked what he's done in other movies. Like Donnie Brasco's good. I like Godfather, obviously. Whatever.
See, I think he
but
was boring.
that
in
movie,
The Godfather, but whatever.
it just rubbed me.
Godfather movies are boring. Bah.
I felt bored during Scent of a Woman.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
It's not your fault. I like watching the movies.
No,
That's
it's
not-
interesting.
because that's a big one. Yeah.
No, that's a top 10er movie for me. That's interesting.
Damn.
Damn.
There were some good parts in it when he was like, he's like, if you don't take
Especially a
this
lot of-
$2,000, I'm gonna
Especially
cry.
out of the story, the honor of Charlie and doing the right thing, and when it all culminates at the end, and
That
what's he
also
say?
slightly took me out of it.
And fuck you too, whoever's I forget, sitting in the audience. The whole thing.
Oh
it
yeah,
just
Harry
ended-
Potter and whatever, Timmy or whatever the fuck. Yeah.
Was that guy Harry Potter?
And no, it was like one of the guys. It's like Harry Buchanan and then like
Oh.
Tim Potter and John whatever the fuck. Yeah, and he goes and fuck you too, Harry, Timmy, and John or whatever the fuck he says.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I can see how those kind of rich kids I would hate. I could commiserate with Charlie on that level, but it also took me out of it that the main character and protagonist had the same name as me, especially throughout the whole movie. They're doing shit like calling him Chaz and Chucky and Charles and Chuck, and like I'm like, I live that, so it's very relevant, but I don't I don't need to see that in a movie. It was it threw me off. And maybe that's just because maybe that makes me a bad audience, an audience member.
Well, going back to what you said, the comment on
The rich kids.
Citizen Kane teaching people how to watch a movie, I'm not sure what that means, especially today. I think back then, it taught people, like, pay attention. This is more complicated, the way they're going to tell the story, than just watching, Gone with the Wind. Oh, oh, rat. You know what I
Frankly,
mean?
my dear, I don't give a damn. Yeah.
Right. Right. Just overacted,
pictures.
melodramatic, just straight line movies. I think that's what it meant, because there are movies, if you don't pay attention, even for 5 or 10 minutes, you could be lost. I think that's
Pulp
what it meant.
Fiction. You watch that, you see John Travolta die, and then you're like, what the fuck? Why is he back here? Why is he alive now?
Yeah.
Yeah. You're like, wait a second. Was there a time machine? Was there what the hell's going on? I don't know why they talked a lot about that in English class, about that type of storyline, and I'm like, it's not that complicated. It's just
About what type of storyline?
the continuance issues,
Oh,
like specifically in Pulp Fiction. I'm like, this is a great movie, and it's not hard to wrap my head around it. It's almost like it was like a new thing or something, like as if Citizen Kane hadn't come out in 1939 instead of 1999 or whatever. But
well, there are a lot of movies that have done that. Have you ever taken a films class?
no, I never have. But in high school, luckily, it's probably changed a lot since you've been. But we do include a lot of film stuff in your regular English classes, which is fun.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. All we did was read. That's
It's
interesting.
really interesting shit. Yeah.
In my British Lit class, we had a really cool teacher, and we read Heart of Darkness, and then we watched Apocalypse Now. And there was one other movie we watched with a similar thing. Did you take British Lit in high school?
No.
So,
No.
have you seen Apocalypse Now?
That movie also gave me the willies, but not in like a scared way, but like this is just uncomfortable
It was a creepy movie
because the
for
dude
sure.
is insane. Yeah, it is
Yeah.
creepy.
So there's a book, The Heart of Darkness, written by a guy named Joseph Conrad, who wrote essentially that same story taking place 100 years before, not during a war. And all the same shit happened. It's the exact same thing.
Oh, he just goes over to Vietnam and is like,
He
Comes
goes,
out.
I think it takes place in Africa in the book. And he
Oh.
goes to this village
Same
and
type of
becomes,
shit,
yeah, this prophetic, crazy ass poet, warlord, god, village, whatever,
yeah.
tribesman.
And I've never
Chieftain,
seen Deer Hunter, but is that similar?
Oh my gosh. I watched Deer Hunter when I was probably 12. 11, 12, or 13. And
This couldn't
It's-
have been good for you.
no. Do you know how it ends?
I don't. It just showed up after I watched The Godfather. It showed up on my, what to watch, but I've never seen it.
It's if you want to have a bad night, watch Deer Hunter. It ends
What's it
badly.
about?
It's about guys who went to Vietnam who are all fucked up. One guy stays back and gets into like this kind of like black market, just dark scene of gambling and betting. And if I tell you the details, I'll ruin it if you do watch it. But the way it ends is not something an 11 or 12-year-old should really see. I remember to end it, and it's just like the way it ends, it really ends. And the movie's over, and you're like, fucking A. I mean, it's a really
one
hard,
movie-
really hard piece of reality. And I went to bed, and I was like, probably walked around like a zombie for 2 or 3 days after that.
You're like, what the fuck is going on? Yeah, isn't that weird when you're a kid? Like the shit can be so profound on you because it's like you're like, what?
Yeah.
That someone made that. It's not like I just read this story in a book and it came out of nothing, but like someone like put time into to make this movie particularly.
Extremely dark. And I think I've told you there's a movie, I've seen it twice, and once I saw it on cable very late at night, and it was with a guy named Jeremy Irons, who's creepy to begin with, in like kind of a Christopher Walken kind of way. I think he's kind of creepy.
You should.
And it's called Dead Ringers. And he plays twins who are like these OBGYN doctors. And the two of them have a maso-sadistic, they're identical twin brothers relationship. And then the guy is a total, it's just a really disturbing, icky movie. He's like this total misogynist, like woman hater. It is fucked up. And that was one of the things when that movie ended, I was like, who thought of this? And who like wrote it down? And who wanted to make this movie? Wow. So I saw it one summer after coming home late from work. I think I was maybe waiting tables. And I watched it. Then I struggled to go to sleep afterwards. It was that freaking creepy. And
You're like,
then I woke up the next day, and I thought about that movie for it stuck in my head for, if I remember, days. And I still, when I think of that movie, I just get the willies on like, the malevolence that can exist in people. And so I'm up north. I'm dating this girl who has a place up north at the Harborage. And and John and Julie were there. And they go to the video store, and they rent a couple of videos, and they rent Dead Ringers. And like no woman should ever see this movie. It's real. I mean, no person. There's no benefit from it. It just shows how screwed up human beings can be. And anyway, I said, you don't want to watch this movie. You don't want to watch this movie. Do not. I'm serious. And I'm like, girls, and it was like probably 3 or 4 guys and 6 or 8 girls. Like, you don't trust me. You will wish you hadn't watched this movie. I promise you. So we're in the movie.
And of course, you're right.
We're in the movie, and there's 4 girls. There's like chairs, and then there's like one couch directly across from the TV. And there's 4 girls, and every one of them like has their knees at their chest, and they're holding a pillow. They're like literally in these defensive positions, like, just like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And the movie ended, and they're like, why didn't we listen to you? I'm like, I don't know, and they were just all fucking creeped out. And that end of the night, everybody was like, I'm going home. That's it. Nobody wanted to drink beer or go to the lake or do anything with them. The night just ended. We're fucked in the head.
Awesome.
Game over. See you tomorrow. Maybe.
And what's funny is when I watch movies with girls, like on a date or whatever, that's when I can actually enjoy the movie for, on its face, instead of thinking about like, oh, that fucking exists. Oh my God, that's horrible. Like, instead of that, because I'll just be cracking jokes the whole time. Even if I'm not saying it, it's in my head because I'm trying to liven up the night a little bit. So like, I just try to look at it through a different lens. But when you're alone, you're like trying to go to sleep or you're sick, whatever, like that's when you go on those big movie binges.
Yeah.
I watched Taxi Driver in that state. That one fucked me up too. I'm like, this is just a weird ass movie.
That was
I'm
a
like,
weird ass movie.
Fucking weird. And then this new one, Uncut Gems, just came out. It's Adam Sandler on Netflix. It just kind of like you're describing. It just ends in Deer Hunter, and it's like, fuck you, guy who wrote that movie. I am so pissed that I watched that because it just like tanks your mood. It just like brings it so fucking down. It's this horrible, terrible ending, and it's like, bam, like that. Go to credits.
What's the movie? Is it American History X?
With the see this? That means not welcome.
Yeah, that just
this?
ends
That means
too.
life is good. I never seen
That movie just ends. You haven't seen that?
I've just seen the clips. I think I know the ending scene where he curb stomps that black guy, and then like the cops are there, and he's like, "What's up, bitch?" That's it.
There's another part to the ending.
Oh,
I don't know if the curb stomp.
I thought it was.
No, the curb stomp's not the ending. That's what sends him to prison.
Oh.
That's a rough scene. God, that's a rough scene.
Yeah, think about. You like having teeth, folks?
Yeah. No, but he killed the guy, crushed his head.
Yeah.
Anyway, no. Is that a John Gordon Levitt or whatever, that
Levitt?
Third Rock from the Sun guy?
I thought it was Ed Norton.
Who plays no? Ed Norton plays the big brother. Then somebody who plays the little brother.
I don't know.
Well,
I'm gonna Ed Norton.
It's a good movie that should have ended a much different way. It should have had a 180 ending. It ends, and the message at the end of the movie is there's no hope. Versus,
I don't like those.
Yeah. Yeah. That. Yeah.
And
And it could have
I don't like
ended.
those at all.
There is hope. Yeah. And it ends. Bam.
Ed Norton.
Yeah.
Crystal picked it up. Yeah.
It is a good movie. It's
Who plays the big
frickin-
brother, or who plays the other white guy?
The little brother.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt. I don't know.
Yeah, where he curb stomps
That's
the guy. Who plays the
Yeah,
younger
Mercy.
brother?
American History. American History 10. Just kidding. It's a mouse joke.
Right. Help us out. Who plays the younger brother? Who plays the younger brother? It's coming.
Anyway.
Yeah, that one ends, and you're just like, really? Didn't have to end that way.
Movies like that. That's exactly what I'm describing about that Uncut Gems. It's just like, oh man. And then like it even gives you where the climax of the movie is that close. You know, if you're looking at like a chart where it's like rising action, you know, whatever. Oh, rising action climax. It's like this. It's like it goes slowly up, and you finally hit the climax, and then there's like 60 to 90 seconds of
It's like mic drop.
yeah, literally. Yeah, it's like 60 to 90 seconds of movie, and then it's over, and you're like, what the fuck? So you're emotionally peaked. It's the kid from Terminator 2. Oh, really? What the fuck is his name?
Oh yeah. Don't know his name.
That makes sense. Yeah, John Connor. T2. But yeah, it's like you're emotionally peaked, and then this they just like are like, fuck you, movie's over, roll credits, and you're like, God damn, what the hell? Why are you playing with my emotions like that? And I actually don't like movies like that. I'd rather watch like a horror movie.
Deer Hunter is the most abrupt ending ever. Bam.
Yeah, I won't watch it then. At least not
Yeah.
yet.
It's not fun and fruity. It's not.
You know
fun
what?
and fruity.
We've been talking about bad movies for a while, but Edward Furlong. Yes, and didn't he? Is he dead
Thank
or
you.
something? What happened to him? Anyway, have you ever seen
No,
The Thing?
you're thinking of the kid from Stand By Me. They kind of look alike.
No. The movie The Thing with Kurt Russell.
I did not see that.
It's a fucking great movie, and it's like a. I would say that that's an A horror movie, A+ rating horror movie, because it's kind of like murder mystery. Yeah.
You know what
That's a
movie
fucking
I
phenomenal
watched, and I watched it, and I'd seen it before, but it was at a very dark time in my life, and I was sitting on the couch, and I had 3 dogs with me. I was alone in the house, and I just the thought of that afternoon and that movie takes me to a dark place, like in real life, and that's War of the Worlds with Tom Cruise.
Oh, I started watching that and I had to turn it off. Not because I couldn't watch it, but it was like, oh, I gotta do something else or whatever.
It's Edward, who died.
Edward Furlong? Or maybe he has some fucked up life or something. There's some news there, but I forget what it is. Anyway, if you're looking for... Those are a bunch of bad movies. Not bad movies, but just that make you feel weird.
Why didn't you see War of the Worlds?
1979. Oh, I didn't see it. It was like I started it and then I never ended up finishing it. It wasn't because I turned it off, though. It was just like I had to...
It has an okay ending. It's a creepy movie, though. They do a good job at making
I think
you
I might have
creep out.
bought it. So this is the
Yeah.
remake. I've seen the original War of the Worlds. That... Not great. I don't think I like that one that much.
No? Here's
no.
one where I can say I read the book. You know what I like better about the movie?
What?
No reading.
It has pictures.
No
Yeah.
reading.
It's pictures instead of words. Yeah,
Not
much easier to convey a message.
Not my line. That's from some stand-up. He's like, I hate it when you're in
Oh.
conversation at a party and you're talking about a movie, and then the invariable person shows up who says, yeah, well, it didn't do the book justice. And I always say to them, you know what I loved about the movie? No reading. Anyway. So
I almost
stole that.
It's Edward. She did it again. Yeah. Anyway, that's all said and done. If you guys want to have it's a good murder mystery movie. If you don't know the ending, The Thing, good solid film. Kurt Russell does a good job. There's
Really?
also a prequel that was made in 2011 to that movie. So if you're like trying to have an evening, you can do a double feature of The Thing and then The Thing 2011. Yeah, good flick.
When was the original Kurt Russell movie?
1979.
Really? I do not think of good movies when I think of Kurt Russell. I think of like the Strongman movies, the Disney movies in the 70s.
Yeah, like Escape from L.A. or whatever.
Or
But he was in
Escape
Hateful
from
Eight
New
too.
York, Snake Plissken, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, but did you watch Hateful Eight like I told you to? Or are you waiting till the winter time? He's 43 and a little overweight, but alive. He didn't get nabbed by COVID. Damn.
Thank you. He's not cute anymore. Is that? She's taking issue with his cuteness. I think,
That's all right.
indirectly. No, I've not seen that. You told me to see that. Are you sure?
Yeah, I did watch. Yeah, and Django. You should have watched that too.
I queued that up, and then I was like, I don't have time to sit this through because I don't like watching movies in segments.
It's like a 2-hour movie. Yeah, two and a half maybe. But so
there's
is Hateful Eight.
There's Jenga and there's one other one. Although I did do a little binge watching of that news show that you said you didn't like, and I think it's really good. And I think it's really, really, really ironic that is way more relevant now than when it came out in 2011. The Newsroom, I think it's called.
Which one was it that you and I were talking about it?
Where Jeff Daniels does that speech.
Oh, yeah. It's America's not the greatest country in the world anymore, or whatever.
Yeah.
But it could be. And I'm like,
I love that speech.
I'll keep my mouth shut because I know you like it, so I'll bite my tongue. But
I don't care. I didn't
That's a
make
good transition into... I didn't make it.
into what's going on.
That's true. Yeah. The Thing holds up well. Yes. Thank you, Crystal. That's a good movie. Shut up, Siri. Yeah, so The Thing is a good movie. 1979, the original. Just a solid, good horror movie. Takes place on like a mountain in Alaska or some shit, or a glacier.
Huh.
Anyway, speaking of politics, we had a big news week last week. And I feel like we're saying that every week because the election is in like 9 days or something, right?
The debate.
Which means we will have,
The debate.
and the
Was
fucking
news.
Hunter Biden.
Your personal news. Well, the laptop was. We talked about that last week.
Yeah, the
And the Instagram
I just-
or Twitter, man.
oh yeah,
fucking
my
scary.
personal news.
All right, guys.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, my a thread that I was a part of on Facebook that was
Alright.
slightly
Charged.
100% politically charged, got taken down. And I don't know if it was because of what I was saying or if it was because the article itself. I forget what it was, something about taxes. And I might have said something slightly countered to
Incendiary.
the yeah incendiary. But at some point, you can't just be like, what is it, platitude, where you're like, well, okay, but if you think about this and the reaction of this, and I'm just like, I don't do that. That's not, you can't communicate on Facebook like that because you'll be sitting there all day. So I just say, this is what I believe. Bam. Fucking prove me wrong, you know? Because I don't want to sit there and type out, you know, I don't want to be like, if this, then that, logic, all this shit in a Facebook post. Like, that's what I think conversations are much easier for that. But essentially, what I said was systemic racism doesn't exist. And I do believe that. But got some backlash slightly. But, and I went to go respond to the post after mine was responded to several times to respond to it. And it was like, this post is gone. It violated our community standards and has been taken down from Facebook or whatever. And I was like, what the fuck? Because I've never seen that before, where they actually take down a post or something. I've never been a part of one. And I don't know if I crossed the line to them for posing a logical, I guess they would call it a conundrum. I don't know what they would say. Wait a second, that's a lie.
I coincidentally read what their community guidelines are, and they're pretty brief. And they use the word safe space. And they say we want to make sure we, keep a place that
Crystal
fosters.
said it happens to me all the time.
Really? Huh.
Crystal, what are you posting? Take a chill pill. You can't be burning all these bridges.
Maybe we should just have her on the show.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's just this kind of broad brush, nebulous. If it's controversial, we reserve the right to take it down. I really, really, really
know what I think happened?
hope that Twitter and Facebook get regulated, because I don't think they're private domains anymore. They're public venues of
Don't they
communication.
call that deregulation? Yeah.
I don't know if no, they
When
would
it
regulate.
essentially becomes a utility.
That's exactly right. So
Yeah.
then they'd regulate it like a utility.
Right. She said
Yeah.
conservative posts. Yes, frequently. Yeah. Yeah, there's no doubt about that. And I'm wondering, even if I posted a picture of this coffee mug, which is like my favorite mug, by the way, it just says it's okay to say Merry Christmas. I think they have the rules like that so that if somebody reports it or whatever, they could be like, Charlie, this is racist or whatever. Which, by the way, if you read that, it was not racist at all.
Yeah, I think
They can be like, oh, someone was offended by this.
I think if you posted a picture of that, it wouldn't on its own. Glad you're amused. I don't think on its own it would constitute taking it down. But then if it got into an incendiary dialogue where lots of people were offended and, just, diving in, claws out, I think they'd take it down. How many people jumped on you? Was it 2? Was it 10?
3, I think. Yeah.
So that's not even
It's no big
huge.
deal. No.
You
Yeah, it's no big deal at all. That's why I just think, like, how would Facebook have picked that up? It wasn't even like a big... it wasn't like it was viral. I'm
the
thinking maybe it got reported.
Though the computers they have I'm losing my freaking mind, man. Algorithms that will just
but there would have had to have been a trigger word in there.
yeah. Well,
So it's not like I'd said the N word and they'd been like, "Whoa, flag, take that shit down," which
No,
is
but
understandable.
if you said that I guarantee you institutional racism or what's the other one?
I said systemic racism doesn't exist, and then
Yeah.
2 posts later, I said, to reiterate, systemic racism is a myth.
I'll bet even on if the word racism pops up, the computer starts crunching numbers, and then at
Like
some
reading
point
it,
a
yeah.
human's going to look at it and going to make a judgment call. That's what I
Who's
would
this
guess.
Asshole Charlie.
It's like
this
it's
white
like all
privileged-
emails. The government is reading every fucking email. And if
I
they're
believe they're
keying in
storing
on
them too,
words
aren't
like
Yeah.
bomb and terrorism and ISIS, and then I think they extrapolate and rerun algorithms, and at some point there's human intervention.
Yeah, that's what makes the most sense, at least from an efficiency standpoint. You can't just have people literally sifting
It
through
would
all that
have to
shit
be,
100% of the
even
time.
with Facebook.
Yeah,
There's a billion freaking
Yeah.
users, right?
right.
Computers
More
got to
than-
do a lot.
Yeah, more than since in the United States, right.
Almost a third of the world. That's crazy. I don't think there's
A third
I
would
don't
be
think there's
2
a
point.
billion computers. I guess in phones.
Probably. Yeah. Anyway, it was, and I shouldn't say I was surprised that it got taken down. It was just the first time that it happened to me, so I should have been like, okay, that makes sense.
It's
But
sad that it got taken down. though.
The word racism. Yeah, I did say that. Yeah. And then I even texted my buddy who was the original. It was something about taxes, which was the dumbest shit. It started off with taxes, and basically one of my buddies was spouting this socialist fucking propaganda, and I'm like, no, we're not fucking having that here. And it's near the election, so I enjoy that. That's a good way for me to spend my time.
Well,
And the next day was his birthday.
I read what he wrote. It wasn't propaganda. It was just it was a snowflake position.
Yeah. And I love him, and he knows that. But we're discussing this shit. It's his birthday the next day. I'm like, hey man, happy birthday. Sorry, I was being a cock. I didn't know your birthday was today. I would have toned it back a little bit, and he even was like, no, dude, it's totally separate. Don't worry about it. So, relationship totally fine. Facebook still decided to take that shit down. They don't even fucking know. Because someone can read that and be hurt, feel scared, it makes me angry. And it might not even be Charlie. It might have just been the actual article, and I'm making a huff for no reason. But
Well, I think that Twitter and Facebook are kind of like utilities. They're public forums for mass communication. And when you start, if you really, really, really get into it, and you start serious, hate mongering and soliciting just outright, bad stuff, sure.
Chris is muting himself because of the dogs. It's kind of funny. He's just yelling.
They have something to say. They're all charged up about what we're talking about.
Hey. They're like,
I don't-
systemic racism does exist, you white privileged son of a bitch. Yeah, and if you disagree with that, tell me why. Don't just
Hey.
say it exists and it's wrong for you to say that it doesn't. That's not a fucking argument.
I'm going
Okay.
to be right
I'm not-
back.
Oh yeah, go ahead. I'll carry the show. I'll rant for a second. If you truly believe that, that's totally fine. I'm not coming out here saying racism doesn't exist at all. Racism is alive and well. Chris and I have discussed that in the show many times. Systemic racism is this boogeyman that you made up that just takes a collective look, a bird's eye view of everything that goes on in a country at once. Now, you're saying, no, it's systemic because it's inherent in the system and it's institutionalized. These certain these certain entities will carry and proliferate that kind of racism, and it's going to affect generationally people of a specific race. Okay, that I would say is just racism on a larger level. I don't know. It's what do you want from me? That's racism from people who have jobs in the government. Like, I don't know how you fix that, like get them out of here. But the point is that if that does exist, this thing that I don't want to speak for Chris, that I think is a boogeyman, kind of just like a made-up term, which is a lot of shit these days, and it's just like, oh yeah, this word exists, now that means that it has to exist. I think it's a fallacy, but if it
Systemic
exists,
racism.
tell us. And what?
Systemic racism, yeah.
Yeah. If it exists, that's bad, and I want to stop that because that's wrong, and it shouldn't exist in an institutionalized manner or any kind of federally sponsored, or even at the state level, local level, any kind of government entity. That's wrong, and it shouldn't exist. And I'll help you. I'll help you
Yeah,
try to
and-
take
and-
that down and
and-
expose that.
And it did exist, like when city planners, like the term redlining.
Redlining is a real example of
Yeah,
of
so back
that
when city
institutionalized
planners would take a
racism, yeah.
red marker and say, these are the areas where we're going to direct these demographics of people. And it was black people, white people, it was all kinds of race, religion, creed, everything. And
They even did literal reservations for Native Americans.
so that's systemic racism. And redlining, maybe here and there it can squeak under the radar, but that doesn't make it systemically racist. It means a system is
That
a system
contains
can
racist.
be fraught right. A system can be fraught with something, but that isn't the system. So
Right, if
I
the
think
law-
part
if-
of it is
yeah.
people misunderstanding. So if there's a system, a police department is a system. And if there is, one of, say, 500 cops in a municipality, or 2, or 20 are racists, that doesn't mean that police department is systemically racist. It means that in that system, there is a pocket of racism. So I think people just don't really understand what they're saying.
But, and you're not wrong. I don't know why I said but. I should say yes and, like the Fox News thing. I totally agree. And the thing that is problematic about that, for those of you folks at home, is that you're spreading this thing, which is essentially a... Sorry, that was God. He was like, you're not going to talk about this. Don't spread bullshit, Charlie. You're essentially spreading this thing that's a myth, and you're making other... I don't want to say stupid people, but people who are not skeptical on the face of things to just be like, oh my God, it's wrong. It's like the judicial system is racist. And you're like, no, it's not.
Let me get out
There's-
two things, because I got two really good thoughts here. So one goes back to everybody needs a thing. So in the absence of a thing, people are glomming on to these fights or causes that are totally propagated by social media, and that becomes their thing. So, if it's truly a just cause and not something that Facebook has led you to believe should have you fucking with people in restaurants and getting in their face and making them do stuff, I guess is all I have to say about that. And then the other thing is, you said it's a boogeyman. Well, guess what? That's the perfect thing to create, to go capture somebody who needs a thing. Create a boogeyman. And we got to put down the
disproving
boogeyman.
a negative, right? Yeah.
Yeah, but if you sell it as the boogeyman, right, and you do a good job, then people are going to follow you. So it's effective. It's largely effective. And none of this, and I think you agree with this, is by any way of saying that there's not racism, there's not racist, there's not problems, there's not things that don't need to be fixed. But if there is an institute that is racist,
Say entity.
yeah, but an entity can be
A human being
a
as
thing
well.
within
Sure.
a system, right? So if there's an institute or a full-blown system that's racist, it should be pretty easy to identify and attack and either destroy or fix or replace.
You want to know what I think is a good example of real-world institutionalized racism? Is that when you're taking the SAT as a high schooler, your score is controlled for your race, sometimes with a negative handicap. So you can lose points if you're Asian. And there's a lawsuit going on right now where Asian people are suing Harvard. And I think there's another school as well. But because they weren't necessarily admitted because their scores, even though they were higher than whatever benchmark, they weren't high compared to other Asians. So you actually get notched down.
Well,
You're aware of that, right?
It wasn't. I don't think the SAT has some sort of built-in handicapper in scores. Harvard was
No.
just
I'm saying if you
looking at the applications of Asians and raising the bar.
that's what I'm
And-
saying. That's
And that's
is
racist.
essentially.
But
Right.
that's not
Right.
that's not system. Well,
It's a
That's-
system.
it's not systemically racist, right?
They didn't write
it's
that down in
within the
rules, but it was a
system.
practice that was, yeah.
I mean, maybe that is. You could argue that's systemically racist, but
I'm just saying that's the closest thing that I can pick for you in a real world example today that actually is a problem.
yeah. But
The
I
only
mean,
other thing that somebody else brought up to me was,
Go ahead.
20% longer sentencing for black Americans as opposed to white Americans. Even when you control for a certain number of modifiers. There's a ton of shit that's going to change the outcome of a court proceeding. And it's hard. You can't even talk about this without sounding racist, and I apologize. It's,
But there's
Chris and I are two white
corollaries
guys.
there, though, right? There's
Yeah.
corollaries there, and the biggest corollary is poor. And
yes, 100%.
and this is
yeah.
now this is fucked up, but in America, black Americans make less money than white Americans. So I would think that part of that 20%, there would be a corollary where a white person with more money has better representation and gets a better outcome. Now that's still fucked up. But it can explain.
It can also explain if you have less money, you're going to have less nice clothing. And a judge, I've seen it happen before because I was taught whatever, and I'm fortunate enough to have the means to be able to afford a suit, that I always wear a suit to court. I've
Yeah,
been
if you don't-
told, I've been told by a judge to a crowded room of people, this is the way you're supposed to come into a courtroom. Thank you. He said that to me. And you think that doesn't affect his decision making? People are people, and they're going to be shitty. A judge is not they're not unbiased. That's why you have conservative and left, liberal judges. Otherwise, that wouldn't exist. So
Yeah, and
that
things
shit
like
happens. Yeah.
right, and getting good counseling. So things like looking the guy in the eye, sitting up straight, paying attention,
Apologizing.
being respectful, combing your hair and shaving, or trimming your beard, or wearing a jacket or a tie. Judges are human beings, and they're supposed to be totally unbiased, but they're human beings. So if they feel like anybody, white, black, purple, whatever, are disrespecting them, I think it's going to be reflected in how they get treated. One human being,
especially
to
if it's a giant purple people eater, because you
Yes.
have eaten people to get. Yeah.
Exactly.
You know
Or
what?
Au-
I'm against
or Audrey-
giant purple people eaters.
Are you against Audrey, the human-eating plant?
What? That's a thing.
Little Shop of
Who's that?
Horrors.
Never
Little
seen-
Shop of Horrors.
Never. Is that a book?
It's a Broadway show. Might be a book. And it was a movie. They made it into a movie with Steve Martin. It's actually kind of amusing.
Steve Martin is good. Yeah, I don't know. I just think that it doesn't exist, and I'm not here to ruin someone's day by saying that. I'm here to get the truth out, and also be made aware if it does exist, so that I can help prevent it in the future, or at least I can start trying to fight that fight, because I'm not right now. But if that's something that's real, lay it on me. Like, what's the thing? And then what do we do about it? 'Cause
Yeah.
How do
'cause
you
if you
fix
chase
that?
the boogeyman, or
Yeah.
if you're chasing a ghost, you're wasting your time. Because there are things, right? Make a list of the problems you've run into. If you've been discriminated against, whether it's your color, your religion, whatever, write them down. And then go attack them. I'll be on that army all day long. Right? We got cameras and an internet that can go worldwide. But you
We have an
gotta
internet.
can't chase a ghost. Can't chase the ghost. You need the name of a person, a company, a municipality, a description of an incident, something. No
You can
detail.
even use the
and
exact verbiage of the ordinance. I'd be fine with
Right.
that too. Yeah.
You can't
Or
solve a
legislation.
problem if you don't serve up the problem. That's the issue.
I
Like
think
you
a
said,
lot
the
of people would
boogeyman.
say that stop and frisk was systemically racist.
I would agree with that. It was systemically racist.
Now, why is
The
that?
fucked up thing is it was effective. Because
So
you
then you
went
say-
through communities that were demographically black, and there's there was a correlation between the neighborhoods they did this in, and crime. But when 90, 95, 99% of whom got stopped and frisked were black, because they thought black people looked more criminal than white people in a neighborhood, then I would say that's a racist system.
Now,
And
backtrack for a hot second. Oh,
well, hang on, just notwithstanding the fact that you're taking due process and throwing it out the window, which is a completely different argument. But it's not constitutional. It worked, but that's that's the definition of Machiavellian, and you can't go there.
Machiavellian. Watch out! Don't let Gordy catch this podcast. I don't even know how to phrase this. I think I'm a nice guy. I think Chris would attest that I'm not a racist.
Uh-oh.
What does it say about that it was racist? That is a racist practice, right? In its when it's being effectively carried out. What does that say about racism? Because if that was actually working, then forgive me, but that's a fucking hard pill to swallow. If you're like, damn, we did.
Well, it was in
target
black
certain-
neighborhoods. I mean, that's That's part of the issue. You know,
Yeah.
or neighborhoods that were mostly black.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's a sticky wicket.
Yeah, that's fine.
But again,
Yeah.
setting that aside, it's taking due process and throwing it out the window.
Right,
I mean,
you're breaking the law, yeah, by doing that.
yeah, you can't do that. You can't just You can't just say we're just gonna fucking pull people over. That's why I think, like, you know, checkpoints, where they used to set up checkpoints for sober
Like
driving.
drunk drivers. Yeah.
That's the same thing as stop and frisk. You're just arbitrarily stopping people. There's no due process there. Right? Illegal search and seizure. That's why radar detectors are legal.
Oh yeah, I remember this. We've talked about this on the show too. Is because you should at least be legally afforded the opportunity to know when you're being searched. Yeah.
Surveilled,
Sorry, I
yeah.
was trying to do quotes.
Yep.
Searched and surveilled.
You think you got it
Yeah,
rough
that's
doing air
interesting.
quotes. Lucy's unusually active. They usually sleep through the podcast. What are you doing? What you doing? Yeah. Stop and frisk is just can't do it. Can't do it. You know,
Yeah, and I don't
then,
have an issue with that. I think you're.
Then you live, you know, extrapolate it. You want to stop crime, just start barging into houses. Oh, nothing here. Sorry we fucked up your house. Good night.
Right, then you get to the no knock warrants, all that shit. Right. Yeah, and I have no qualms.
Well, then you get to
Going against
Nazi
that
fucking
practice,
Germany,
that's-
right? Where you just bust in.
That's what a no knock warrant is. But yeah.
Well, it's still a warrant signed by a judge.
Well, yeah.
There's
you
an
could say-
argument. I mean technically due process has been served there. You've used the system. A judge just says yes. There's due cause. Go ahead and go in. The no knock warrant
you
just adds
support
an
no-knock
element
warrants?
of danger. No, the reason I don't support no knock warrants is because what happened to Breonna Taylor is going to happen more. You go in and shit's going to go wrong.
Bad for cops, bad for civilians.
Yeah, for sure. It's just not safe. Be good cops. If you can't go in there, you know, if you're not solid enough to go in there and find what you're looking for, you don't need a no-knock warrant. Do your job.
Under what? Yeah, I'm trying to think when it would be justified, and like maybe child sex ring or just maybe regular sex ring where you like have slaves. That's probably
To save a kid.
valid.
Yeah.
yeah. You're like, this kid's gonna die, but like, what was that? They were like, she has a pound of marijuana.
Well,
I'm
they
sorry
were
to
trying
laugh.
to
'Cause
get
she
they
did
were
die,
trying to
but-
get to her former boyfriend.
right.
And the whole
that's
thing was
ridiculous.
fucked up. They were just what they were doing going to do to her was basically blackmail her. You know, I'm going to shift gears on you here. I don't think that cops should be able to lie to suspects to get them to confess to something. I think that's fucked up.
I agree with you on that. Yeah.
That's totally fucked
What
up.
was the-
I
where
don't
they
think you
tell
should be
them-
able to feed somebody coffee and then deny them a bathroom break to get them to admit to something. If you can't get it out of them, then fucking give them their day in court.
Who was the guy? Communist Russia, Stalin right hand man, Barska.
Don't know.
He said, I forget which way it went, but is it you find me the crime and I'll find you the man, or is you find me the man and I'll find you the crime?
It's probably find me the man, I'll find you the crime.
Yeah, that's more like,
Yeah, I can put anybody away for
Dystopian.
anything. You just tell me who you want.
Right, yeah. And that's true. And there's tons of, and if you haven't watched these folks at home, watch documentaries and shit like this on how that is what happens all the fucking time with
Yeah, that's
police
that's
investigations.
the KGB in Nazi Germany.
Yeah. Beria. Yeah. Yeah.
What's
Thanks,
Beria?
Crystal. Wow. She's being our fact checker. Yeah.
Cool.
So I was close. I had the B and the R and a certain number of letters. Yeah.
Crystal's on the ball.
Find me the-
Crystal. If you want to come on and be a guest, let us know. We'll pick a topic.
Yeah. You can talk about good movies, bad movies, systemic racism, whatever.
There's a
those are
whole
our
world
topics.
out there.
That's so close. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. I'll be better. I promise. Anyway, it's very.
yeah, we were
it's very
talking about
backwards and fucked up, but
yes,
sounds groovy. Yeah, it does.
groovy. She interrupted our mojo. Anyway, yeah, the last thing that was said is I said, yeah, it's just like the KGB in Nazi Germany.
Yeah.
Yeah, you want to pin a crime
It happens
on
all the
somebody.
time. There was one
Oh,
instance
man.
where I found it was like the suspect's mom was sick, and they're like, "Oh," and it might have been she's sick, she's in the hospital, she was just in a car crash, and they're like, "It's all a lie," just to get the fucking guy to say something, and that's so, that's fucked up. As a, let's just say, as a law-abiding citizen, if you're gonna look at that, that's messed up because someone could just be like, sorry, we can't let you go see your dying mom. She's got in a car accident and her legs are severed or whatever, and you're being detained for 48 hours because of this, and she might not make it that long. You're like, fine, I fucking did it, whatever.
Yeah, it's a slippery slope.
Not good. Yeah.
It's a slippery slope. That's interesting.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have known what your opinion would have been about cops lying to people to get them to admit to crimes. But that's fucked up. It's totally fucked up.
Oh yeah, it is fucked up. And you're like, I think when a typical person thinks about this, they usually are like, let's say, you ever seen the movie Seven?
Yeah. Brutal ending.
Brutal. What's in the box? Let's pretend. I think most people probably think about it like that. They're like, I'm trying to save. I can do whatever I want. You can say whatever you want to somebody. And I'll honestly come out and say probably most right-wing people. I don't know about liberals. They probably have a little bit more, they're against that. But you're prejudging the person as having committed the crime, whereas you're supposed to use the basis of innocence in this country. So
I don't know. I think a truly good conservative would say everybody's entitled to due process. We have to follow due process. Because if you don't, then you've transgressed into bedlam.
You'll notice
I
I
mean-
said right-wingers, not necessarily conservative.
Okay.
But
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I made a leap, I guess. But
that's okay. No, it's whatever. There is a
Like, but we-
difference, folks at home. Crystal.
yeah.
There's a difference.
Yeah, but even right wingers would say, well, there's rules and there's laws and we have to follow these laws. But then, yeah, I mean, extremists would say, but then the ends justify the means when I say so, which is fucked up.
All you have to do, if you take the extreme of this argument, you get to a point where you say, is the existence of Guantanamo Bay a good thing or a bad thing? And one person will say it's a good thing, one person will say it's a bad thing. And that's kind of where you get when you take the extreme of that argument. But that's a good way to really get to the bottom of your principles. We just going
Wow.
to take these fucking people,
That-
throw them in a cage, make them listen to 10 hours of Crazy Frog on a loop, and then deprive them of sleep for 72 hours. We're going to zap their balls with a cow prod until they
waterboard
tell
them
us what we want to hear.
and waterboard them and stand on the argument that it's not torture, it's an enhanced technique. What the fuck does that mean? It's an enhanced technique. An enhanced technique of what?
Baby Shark, yeah. Baby Shark, do. That was actually in a real CIA report where when this all came out, that was in the report was they'll just play shit music on a loop for fucking hours on end, and you just lose your mind.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Well, and it was right, and it was music that culturally, I guess, they knew would not appeal to these guys. What is Baby
Yeah,
Shark
like
a song?
Crazy Frog or Crystal said Baby Shark. What?
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So there was waterboarding. There
Yeah.
was that. There was sleep deprivation. There was denying them. Oh, I think they went naked, which if you're a Muslim is like humiliating. You know, they just did all these things that really, really, really
I would be
fucked with those
humiliated
men.
by that too.
Yeah, but I think it goes beyond like just like being naked and feeling
No.
vulnerable. It was a cultural thing.
Mind altering drugs. No, that's MK Ultra, Crystal. Jeez. You're getting your CIA conspiracies mixed up. Actually, I think that one was documented, but that's all right.
That goes back though.
Oh yeah.
I'm not.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure if she's talking about Guantanamo Bay or other stuff. Somebody was talking
It
about
is
that
what it
on
is.
Rogan. I wish I remembered the details. But some of the shit they were doing, like in the 50s and 60s,
It's probably Malice. Because I've heard them talk about that too.
could have been. How are we on time?
Maybe. We're over, but I'm still rolling. I don't know. We can call it. What are you thinking?
How we at, where are we? Hour 10, hour 20?
I think an hour 10.
I say we wrap up on a movie or movies.
I was actually going to do that anyway, so that's good.
All right. What do you got?
I already gave my suggestion of The Thing. Actually, I want to hear what you have to say first.
I've not seen it.
Well, no,
Are
no,
you
no,
talking about the?
What were you going to... Not The Thing.
I
Let's
hadn't
go to a
thought about it,
different movie.
but it was fun talking about it. So I just wanted to revisit it. Um,
Yeah.
I don't. You know, I was gonna say on Taxi Driver, so I bought it on Amazon, I guess, and I was home. I had a day off. I was just burning up a vacation day on a Monday. I love having Mondays off, and I started watching it, and it was not at all what I thought. I didn't realize it was going to be this like despondent guy, this detached, dark thing. So. I was like, not today. And then I watched it in the last year, and I was in the mood to see a movie like that. That was a good movie. That was a good movie with an interesting ending. Did you say you never finished it?
No, I did finish it. It totally messed with me. I was like, well, I don't know if this is... I was going to drop a spoiler, but... Ending is weird, and it kind of has a half climax, in the middle, where like he goes out to do it and doesn't do it or whatever. And there's a weird scene where he's in like a jack off palace or whatever the fuck you call it. That I don't like that shit. And it really shows you how filthy New York is. Wait, that's the one where he's with the guy in the car and he's like, I'm gonna fucking kill my wife right now or whatever. She's cheating on me with that black guy or something. That's that movie. Yeah.
I don't remember it that well, but yeah, yeah, New York is, well, it just paints cities and humanity as dark, lonely, ugly places. I mean, that's certainly, if you're feeling lonely, that's not a movie you want to watch when you're feeling that way. It is, despondence and loneliness are definitely kind of themes in that movie.
Yeah, that's what I meant kind of earlier. And I love saying folks at home. I don't know if that's obvious or not, but it's one of my favorite things to say.
Or listening.
Folks at home.
Could be listening in the car.
No, I just need to differentiate when I'm talking to you and when I'm talking to the audience.
Got it.
Fourth wall. Whoa. In terms of viewing practices, what I mentioned earlier about if I'm watching it, like when I'm watching a movie when I'm on a date or with people, it's very, very, very different viewing experience. I think having a movie buddy is a good way to watch films if they're going to be like kind of fucked up. I think that's not a bad way to go about doing it.
I agree. Yeah, I mean, it's that way with anything. anything that's, evocative emotionally. If you're
gonna
alone
run through
and or
gunfire.
feeling lonely, yeah.
Walk through the woods at night.
Let me ask you this: if you were sitting home in a room versus going to a movie theater by yourself, but having people on all four sides of you, would that help?
I know you go to the movie theater alone, or you have done that. I don't
That's
know
most
if
of
I
the
would like that.
most of the time when I go to the movies, it's alone.
I don't know if I would like that.
Well, it's different.
I think that's my inherently social brain.
Going to a movie alone is just watching a movie. Going to the movies with people is an event. It's a very different experience. Because you're going out with buddies and or a date or whatever. So it's a date that has a movie attached versus just going to a movie. Because it's very businesslike. You're alone. You go in there. Maybe you get some food. You sit down. You're not talking. There's nobody there. And I
Depends on your
usually go to,
relationship with the person that you're going with too, but
yeah, that's true. But
like
you're
I
gonna
like to think of it
you're
as
gonna
kind of like a
talk
movie buddy.
You're going to talk a little, and you're going to just the human experience. I mean, like how you and I have
I
talked
never
about.
talk to my dates, so
Shut up.
they don't deserve.
It's like doing this show. I mean, we have our chemistry and our interaction, but when you're right there, when you're 3 or 4 feet away, it's different. When you are in the presence of somebody, there's energy, and it's different. Very, very different. My
It is
point
different,
is,
yeah.
depending on who your buddy is, even if it's somebody you're not real chatty with, you're not alone. And maybe if you're going to, a Star Wars movie or a comedy or something, it doesn't make that big a difference. But if you're going to, a Taxi Driver or what's a movie that I've seen in a movie theater that's kind of dark? I don't know.
Charlie would talk too much. Hey, how do you know that about me? You're being racist towards Italians right now, Crystal. Okay, that's not all right. You need to calm down on the racism there.
Towards Italians? You're not Italian.
Half.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I guess.
Yeah. You say, oh yeah. My last name is Houston, the Scottish, but
Right. I
whenever
forgot.
Chris and I like to play the card whichever one suits me in that moment. I'm a mutt. Yes, we all are. Yeah. We're American. At some point, you're just American, right? Goddamn.
Yes. Well, yeah. You need to go to certain places to not have mutts. All right.
Auschwitz.
I think we wrap. I'm good.
I think so too. Yeah.
All right.
That's a good. Watch The Thing. That's my suggestion for the week. Watch The Thing. It's a good fucking movie.
All
and
right.
it's spooky season. Watch scary movies. If you're not watching horror movies right now, you're gonna regret it in 2 months. You'll be like, "Fuck! I should have watched that scary movie around Halloween time."
Oh, wait.
Think about
8-ball
that.
question. I've got a really good 8-ball question.
Oh yeah.
Okay, 8-ball. Am I going to get
I gonna lose
10
this thing?
or more Halloween trick-or-treaters? I generally get 20 or 30. Well, I get 10 or more this year because I'm going to be prepared for 20 or 30.
It is certain. 10 or more.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's cool. What are you gonna? Are you gonna like get one of those claw things, and be like, take the candy?
I am putting several pieces of candy in tiny little Ziploc bags, and I'm just going to lay them out on TV tables so that people can just grab them and not touch anything that's been touched by somebody else.
People are gonna take. Kids are gonna come and take multiples though.
I'm going to be there. Say, hey, you little fuck.
you're just like this. The kid takes whatever it is. You're just like this. hey, cut it out. Right? You
No,
just a wave.
no, I'll have like one of those
that one back.
a short garden rake. I'll just get their hand.
Yeah, just fucking whack. A whip. Yeah.
All right, well, that's
You
cool.
dress the dogs up. Oh, that's it.
No,
Yeah, so you'll have 10
don't.
more.
I'll have 10 more. All right, music's coming in. And we're going to go away. Say
I
goodbye
like
to
more than a
Charlie.
friend, audience members.
Say goodbye to Chris. Thanks, audience. Later.